Hello, Legionnaires! 3 years ago, the world was introduced to an unfamiliar group of misfits in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, they return to save the denizens of space once again. The question remains, does this film live up to the heart and humor of its predecessor? As with all my tactical briefings, I'll deliver a short, spoiler-free synopsis of the plot, the film's highlights, and its shortcomings. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 takes place shortly after the events of the first film. The crew is hired by the Sovereign, a group of golden humanoids, to take care of a problem. Upon completion of the task, Rocket does something to infuriate the Sovereign, which forces the gang to go on the run from their former employers. They are rescued in the 11th hour by an enigmatic stranger who claims he is the father of Star-Lord. The crew becomes divided both physically and emotionally as they deal with threats both external and from within their ranks. Let's begin by discussing what really makes this story stand out. First off are the characters. This franchise, more than most, places the importance of developing relationships between heroes above most all else. The core team from the first outing is still charming, funny, and a little rough around the edges. Seeing their team dynamics from the onset of the film is smile-inducing. Oddly enough though, it's the old rivals in Yondu and Nebula that really stand above that initial set. Discovering what their motivations were and still are make you feel much more of a connection to them, while also retroactively making the previous film more understandable. The connection Yondu has with Rocket and Peter is undeniable and heartfelt, while Nebula's obsession to best her sister Gamora carries with it a lot of emotional weight. Newcomer Mantis has a few delightful moments with Drax, and I'm interested to see where she fits in with the team down the line. Also, I'd be remiss not to mention the real star of the show here, Kurt Russell as Ego. His charm, presence, and charisma really place him in a whole other level. Ego's ties to Peter unfold in a very interesting way, too. This relationship, and the others previously mentioned, lead to many touching moments, which aren't typically associated with big sci-fi flicks, but it is most welcome. Like its predecessor, Guardians 2 does a great job of implementing its music into the context of the film. Hearing these familiar tunes and how they punctuate key moments was executed even better this time around. The last great thing about this particular journey for the Guardians I want to highlight are the visuals. Each location, action sequence, and explosion is dripping with color and attitude. There is one particular visual effect that is truly stunning to behold that happens at the climax of the film. This assault on your eyes makes for segments that are truly visually arresting. While I could go on and on about what makes this movie stand out, I do have to mention its minor shortcomings. Firstly, the humor. Many of the best jokes were squandered in the trailers, and many didn't land at all. There's a bit near the beginning that is overly juvenile, and it felt pretty flat. That isn't to say the picture isn't comical, quite the contrary. There are many good laugh-out-loud moments, but there were instances of silence when a joke wouldn't hit home. Next off, while the new additions in Nebula, Ego, and Yondu were superb, Gamora felt particularly one-dimensional. Zoe Saldana did a great job as always acting the part, but the character of Gamora served to be little more than a romantic conquest for Star-Lord and a stereotypical rival for Nebula. It isn't a huge detractor from the story, but I'd love to see more from her in the future. All in all, Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 2 is an excellent-looking sci-fi action comedy that doesn't take itself too seriously. The highlighted characters, Yondu, Nebula, and Ego, all have great moments while not completely stealing the spotlight from the original team. Even Mantis has a few funny moments with Drax that will stick with me for a while to come. Although not all the jokes land and Gamora takes somewhat of a backseat this time out, seeing Guardians in theaters is a no-brainer. Agree with my review, Legionnaire? Let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to see more of our reviews. If you haven't gotten enough Guardians of the Galaxy talk, then check out this week's Critical Podcast, where I and my other General Joe will discuss it in greater detail. If you want to help bolster our ranks and fighting prowess, consider supporting us over at patreon.com/criticalreviews to help us cover more films like this one. Thanks for watching, and just remember to adapt, and I am Groot.